Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. That's my standard intro, Bill Rabinowitz. We have a special guest in the FanstreamSports.com Ohio studio here today. Bill Rabinowitz, noted author, noted working with Tim May for many years and surviving, a noted chronicler of Ohio State football for the Columbus Dispatch for those many years. Before that, pro football, covered the Bengals, covered the Browns too a little bit, didn't you? There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, he has dirt under his fingernails, along with Clay Hall. You know, my regular.
You know what this is?
My
this
regular
is the Buckeye Brotherhood.
Co-worker. Yeah, yeah, it's the Buckeye Brotherhood. And by the way, we've got Bill here. We're going to talk about Ohio State football because now he's on Substack. He took that early buyout thing, which is not a bad thing to do. He's now on Substack, still continuing to cover Ohio State football as we speak. But he's also got I think this is your third book on Ohio State football. Am I wrong?
It is.
Third book on Ohio State football called Buckeye Brotherhood. It's you can see the copy there right in front of him. We just happen to have a copy. I don't know how that happened, but thank you, book gods, for dropping one in our lap. But Bill Rabinowitz, by the way, welcome to the Tim May Show. I think as long as we work together, and as long as we've not been working together, it's the first time you've been on, right?
That is true.
Well.
I thought you didn't like me.
Miracles do happen, ladies and gentlemen. Old Testament, New Testament, you can look it up. But the bottom line is, by the way, I could cover the whole waterfront here on the Tim May Show.
Yeah, includes everyone.
But I digress per usual. You got this book out about last year's run, last year's expected and then improbable, and then are you kidding me run to the national championship by Ohio State in the first ever version of the college football playoff 12-team field. We're going to get to that in a moment because it's compelling, as you could expect. Just talking about the meeting the team had after the fourth straight loss to Michigan is enough for a book there in its own right. Correct, Bill?
Yeah, that's one chapter devoted entirely to that.
So that
meeting. I would joke with the players when I talked to them, because I had to piece it together over months, was, why didn't one of you guys just record the thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Hand me the tape. It would have been much easier that way. But yeah, that was really the turning point of the season, because they went in as one team, kind of a fractured, angry, depressed team.
Bewildered a little bit too, right?
I mean, every adjective you want to use. And they left the meeting after getting everything off their chest, a united, motivated, they were just ready to run through a wall.
Yeah.
After that meeting.
Team.
It was a new team. Yeah, it really was in a lot of ways a new team after they left that meeting. The meeting lasted, like 90 minutes, 2 hours, something like that. Just players and Ryan Day.
Yeah.
No other coaches, nobody else in there. And they hashed it out. They just went at it. And
I told Ryan Day, I did a podcast with for my show with him back in like March or April. I can't remember when it was, but the point I made to him was, I said that will go down in my book in the new way of coaching. The nouveau coaching style is what I like to call it. Is one of the great moments in coaching history, because you could have gone in there. Clay and I talked about this on our last show. It's kind of like, and I've talked about it with other people, like the Varsity Blues. Remember a movie where John Voight, My Way or the Highway? He ends up leaving the locker room and they come back and win, or whatever it was, with a great. But my point was, Ryan Day could have gone in there and he could have listened to them and go, well, BS, we're doing it my way. I'm the head coach. I'm the icon in building here. We're going to do it my way. Instead, he mea culpa'd. Is that the past tense of mea culpa? He did a mea culpa. He also pointed out maybe some guys in the room didn't do all they could have done.
Exactly right.
Right on down the line, and then took the arrows. And how many coaches do you know from the old days would have taken the arrows like that?
Well, I talked to Caleb Dowds and Seth
McLaughlin
about it.
Yeah.
And both of them said there's no way in the world that Nick Saban would have sat through that. There's
right.
no way in the world.
Great example.
And they gave Ryan Day immense amount of credit. Look, it wasn't like he had to regain their trust necessarily. I mean, they did like him already.
Oh, yeah.
But that took it to a different level, that he was willing to sit there and take it. And as you said, give it. I mean, he told the players, if you had done this, this, and this, we wouldn't be having this meeting. But You didn't. Coaches can only do so much.
Right.
Players have to play. But the fact that they put themselves through that meeting really galvanized that team.
Absolutely. I thought it was a stroke. At the time, you're just desperately trying to fix your team.
Right.
But when you look back on it, it was a stroke of genius because, I brought this up. We'll get into this maybe later. No, I'll ask you right now, Bill. Clay and I were talking about this the other day too. It's like Ryan Day came along almost at exactly the right time to be a new head coach. If you follow my drift, because, you could hear the drum beats. There was going to be somehow or another NIL was going to come into the picture, right? Transfer portal was sort of in its infancy then. You had to have graduated before you could transfer.
Right. You had to wait a year. But
well, no.
But
yeah, it had moved on to where now if you had graduated, you could move on and play even in the conference. My point is now, then you had wide open transfer portal along with the NIL coming to fruition. And so Ryan Day has cut his teeth, not as in thinking about the way I used to do it, as he has developed as a head coach. This is the new world, and he has embraced it. Now, has he gone grudgingly into a couple of things? Yeah, but you know what? You either get with the program or you get left behind, right?
Yeah, I've thought about this a few times. How would Urban Meyer have dealt with the transfer portal? Think about like in 2012, that season, when they just punished those guys. I mean, they were working out in 15-degree weather without, just insane stuff. They could have left. Now you just couldn't coach that way. They would leave.
Yeah.
There's no way that Urban Meyer, using the 2012 methods, could have kept that team together.
That's why he wanted that team to be decorated in some way.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. Oh, we got to have a statue for this or whatever.
Right. But, I think he could see the writing on the wall and thought
the change
coming. I don't know exactly. I've never discussed it with him. Like, did you see NIL coming at?
Well, he had
stuff. I mean, there are a lot of factors.
He had a falling out with the president of the university that he didn't think could be mended. I mean, a lot of things went into why he decided to leave after the 2018 season. Go ahead.
Yeah, I used to joke that I think I told Shelley Meyer this. I called them. He retired because of head drakes.
Yeah,
the headaches and Drake.
That's excellent. And that's exactly correct.
Yeah,
head rakes. But Doug, back to that, because we saw Nick Saban. Why did he leave? Why did he decide to retire when he did? And in a surprise move, retired when he did, because like he has said many times, he got to talking about the benefits of coming to Alabama, their own brotherhood, what that would mean to you down the road, getting to the NFL, getting to your dream, the school, et cetera. It got down to how much am I going to make, coach? And for the most part, and with I think both of those head coaches would have adapted.
Yeah, they're brilliant coaches.
Exactly.
Yeah, but and think about the ripples from the Nick Saban retirement last year and this year.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had Caleb Downs. You wouldn't have Julian Sand this year. And Seth McLaughlin was essential last year. Now, Seth McLaughlin was a little bit of a different.
Yeah, he was leaving.
He was leaving anyway because that's what happened at the end of the 2023 season. But, you take Caleb Downs off last year's team, I don't think it wins the national championship.
Right.
This year, thank God they've got Julian Sand, right?
That valuable.
Right. I just told the Earl Bruce Quarterback Club, talked to them at a noon luncheon, and I said, this will be, if they win the championship this year, this should be the Nick Saban Memorial Ohio State football team. Because obviously we all know that he was at Ohio State for a season as a defensive backs coach and got fired by Earl Bruce when he stood up for the defensive coordinator who had just been fired after they had a close one with Navy in the Liberty Bowl. Yeah. And Earl Bruce fired up. I'm trying to remember the defensive coordinator's name. And Nick supposedly stood up and said, my buddy Jeff Snook, talked to him like minutes after this happened because he was covering the team for the Lantern. And Nick Saban basically spoke up and said, well, wait a minute, if you would keep your hands out of our defense and let us play blah, 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 the way we want to play, blah, 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 this wouldn't have happened. We'd be much farther along. And supposedly Earl said, and you're fired too. And, so Ohio State has boosted his career along twice because he never would have gone to Navy. Right. He never would have met Steve Belichick or his young son, Bill Belichick. They became best buddies because Steve Belichick was an assistant coach at Navy. And then in 1998, Ohio State's kicking their butt. Michigan State 21-9.
24-0.
whatever it was. And
That's it. Exactly.
yeah, and what's his face does the flip into the end zone with the interception return. The safety, what was his name? I always forget. He always said he was from the cut. I'll think of it in a minute. But the bottom line is, all of a sudden they realize that Plaxico Burress at 6'5" is being guarded by 5'9" on his tiptoes, Antoine Winfield. Bill Burke started throwing the ball to him. They pull off one of the great upsets.
Right.
Yeah. Number one Ohio State, if I remember correctly.
Michigan State was unranked. That was the high watermark of Saban's Michigan State career by far.
Bingo. And all of a sudden, he's the hottest commodity.
Right.
Goes to LSU, wins the national championship, goes to the Miami Dolphins, doesn't win a Super Bowl. He's only there, a year and 3/4. Ends up at Alabama and wins 6 national championships. Right. So, he has a lot. That's what I'm saying. His connection.
This was 6.5. Ohio State wins it again.
Yeah, exactly. But the bottom line is, yes, because when you're quarterback on offense and your quarterback on defense could have been Alabama's Kalen DeBoer's. Now they've rebounded smartly in the last 4 games. But my point is, it's just funny. Such a small world now in college football. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about even Ohio State, Michigan. Tony Alford's their running backs coach, right? He left in the middle of spring practice.
No What's he doing? He's condemned for life. Yeah. And boom. I mean, and then they bring in Carlos Loughlin, a different kind of running backs coach, who you have to admit he got Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson on track, and they were the 2 best running backs in the country, especially the last 4 games of the year. Yeah. Change is good if you use it the right way, right?
Yeah, he told them first of all, he made sure, Quinshon was already here, of course, but he had a meeting with them and said, look, you're both gonna be 1,000-yard rushers if you just basically follow the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. I mean, it took them 16 games to get there, but I think both of them had great years, and they didn't get too much, as they say, wear on the tire.
Yeah.
They when Quinshon Judkins was a workhorse at Ole Miss for
overused, really, when you think about it.
I mean, getting 30 carries a game.
Yeah,
that's not good for an NFL career.
That's old time,
right? I mean, almost everyone. Look, Ohio State used 4 running backs last week, so I think that's where the game's going.
Yeah. Hey, just I want to talk more about you, Buck, but I do want to ask this: do you get, just like we were sitting here? If we were sitting here last year at this time, not after the Michigan game, but this time, they went to Oregon, got beat by 1 point. Controversial ending there, in all kinds of ways, but I still do believe there was a second left on the clock when Will Howard's butt hit the ground, and behind him Brandon Ennis is signaling timeout. But it bothered me then, still bothers me now. But if you understand, folks, it shouldn't bother you as much because it was Big Ten officials, and they opted not to even look at that.
Well, the crowd was storming the field, and I think they just
exactly
thought, let's just get out of here.
Exactly,
try to clear the field.
Yeah.
That's what Ohio State thinks.
But it should not be a matter of convenience, or safety, because football is not a safe sport. So they should have gotten the field cleared. But I digress. But the bottom line is, still, we were sitting here last year thinking this is still a pretty damn good Ohio State football team, right? I mean, in your book, I would think you touch on that.
Yes, but they didn't play the way we thought they would play until the playoff.
Yeah.
Because after the Oregon game was Nebraska, and they really struggled against Nebraska. Lucky to win that game. And
who had Nebraska just been whipped by?
Yeah, Indiana crushed them. So that's why this year, I think it helped Ohio State that they had that example, because Illinois crushed Indiana this year. And so Ryan Day was able to say, remember Nebraska? That's probably helped in terms of preparation for Illinois this year.
Yeah. You meant Indiana crushed Illinois.
Right.
You said, but that's okay,
yes,
man.
Indiana crushed Illinois.
Yeah.
So, through 7 games last year, I kept wondering, where's the real Ohio State team?
Yeah.
They're good, but they're not overpowering.
Yeah.
Where, what's missing? What's going on?
They're not Tennessee good.
Yeah.
I mean, crushing.
Right.
Tennessee.
Oh,
yeah. But do you get the sense that this team is like that also? Because as good as it's been, where's the running game? Like that they leaned on last year in the playoffs, et cetera? Go ahead.
I think this team's ahead of last year's team because the running game, which isn't bad, it's just bad in comparison to every other phase of the team. I thought they'd be really good this year. I didn't think they'd be clearly the best team in the country at this point. Julian Saint's been better than anyone could have thought. You have Jeremiah Smith. Cardell Tate has taken another leap forward.
Yeah.
The run game is spotty. It's not bad. And I think Bo Jackson has star potential. I mean, and more than that, I think he started to show it. But, I don't think any team peaks until they have to peak, right?
Yeah.
Until the playoff. And you look at like 14, that team. It wasn't until the Michigan State game in November that you really thought, this team's got something. Right? That was the first game that year. Michigan State was favored. Ohio State was on the road, and Ohio State kicked their butts.
Yep.
And you thought, I wouldn't want to play these guys.
Right?
Yep.
I'm thinking Michael Thomas, Devin Smith, as you're going, I'm going, They had guys come online. That's what we're seeing right now. I think you agree. I mean, do you see right now with this team, have they really played anybody yet? I mean, that's the debate.
You're right.
But at Washington, one of the toughest places to play in America, just ask Washington.
Yeah.
At Illinois, which that was really Illinois' Alamo. I mean, they had to make, and it didn't happen for Illinois. In Illinois, we think, well, you understand what I'm saying. They had to make it happen. And, Illinois couldn't make it happen. They fought their rear ends off until about Illinois did. And Ohio State really kind of handled them like a big brother. I mean, in a lot of ways. And Texas, everybody keeps saying, well, Texas is going to be better than it was. Anybody that watched Texas play just last weekend, Arch Manning is not Julian Sayed. He's not even close. My point is, so how good was that team? Although I think Texas has the best defense in the Southeastern Conference, but that's like saying, you've got the best donut in the box over there. I mean, there isn't a lot of defense being played in the Southeastern Conference. But my point is, I judge teams like this. Do you take care of business as expected? So far, this team has taken care of business as expected. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, and I think that if Ryan Day knew what Julian Sain was going to be, he would have taken the training wheels off earlier, and even in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, they won 14-7, and it was 14-0, and they just said, okay, let's just not lose this game.
Yeah.
Could they have pressed the pedal to the metal a little more and maybe gotten it to 28? Maybe, but they just thought, let's just get out of here. Because Texas was the number one team. You don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out.
Correct.
And so they've not lost since then by fewer than 18 points in a game. The defense has been lights out. I mean, to lose the entire starting defensive line, to lose Denzel Burke, a 4-year starter, lose Lathan Ransom, who was a key player.
My goodness.
Tony Simon, the captain. And to be arguably, I'm not even sure it's even arguably better right now. I mean, again, the big test will come, probably not until the playoff or at least the postseason. If they play Indiana or Oregon,
November 29th.
Yeah, I mean, but Michigan's offense has been very up and down. They've got a very talented but a freshman quarterback.
Let me remind you, they've beaten Ohio State four straight times.
Oh, yeah, even as underdog, they've beaten Ohio State. He was a heavy underdog. They've beaten Ohio State.
Yeah.
It ain't over till it's over, as Yogi Berra once so poetically put it.
But they're not going to play an elite offense.
No.
Until the postseason.
Postseason. Amen. But I want to segue now back into the book. I'll let Clay ask some questions too, because Clay is not a lump of coal. He is a vital part of this program.
You feel that way, Clay?
So,
yes.
I'm sure I've never written a book, but it's painstaking work, I would think. But you're writing a happy ending.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And I'm just wondering if you had fun because your subject, because Ryan Day has bared his soul in so many ways, no question was off limits, I would think. And that for that reason, maybe you got an epiphany or two, or was everything out of his mouth sort of expected?
That's an interesting question. He had talked about his father's suicide before,
right,
but not in the kind of detail that he did with me. And that was touchy. And that's how I start the book, with that.
Right.
And I was really I had very mixed feelings about doing it that way, because I didn't want to kind of be sensational.
Yeah.
I wanted to be sensitive. But I also kind of came to the conclusion, this is the seminal moment of his life.
Well, that's
He's
how
8 years old.
Yeah.
There's almost no before that for him.
Right.
It's like gone from his memory. His life began that night because he had two younger brothers, and he all of a sudden was the man of the house at 8 years old.
Yeah.
And that changes you. I mean, first of all, you have
No
to deal
doubt.
with your father's suicide and why did he do it? They still don't know exactly why they did it. His brother was a detective and looked up the file, and that didn't give many
And there was a
answers.
paragraph,
It was
right?
like a couple paragraphs and pictures, and that's it. And so even now, they don't know what caused him to do that.
Yeah.
So you live with that uncertainty. And back then, this is the late 80s, early
Right,
90s.
right.
People did not talk about this stuff, especially, maybe early on, especially, but at least in Manchester, New Hampshire. It just wasn't discussed. It was like, okay, he's gone, and you go about your life.
I can't imagine, how long it took him, but
Right.
because of that town and the emphasis on sports and family,
Right.
it was a way he did have a path
Yes.
to sanity, I guess.
Right. And he had a support system. I mean,
Yep.
close to his grandparents. The community rallied around him. Nina was friends with him.
Yeah.
His wife,
his
eventual
Nina's
wife.
Right. Her father was the Division II basketball coach, really a legend in Manchester.
Yep.
Right.
And Ryan and he share a birthday, so they kind of had a little bond. And so it wasn't like he was isolated, but still, you have that traumatic experience in your life.
You have some
That
sleepless.
shapes you.
Yeah.
And he said he took it out in sports. That was the one place where he could just, my life is whatever, but on the football field, on the baseball diamond, on the basketball court, I'm going to play so hard that all my anger will be taken out there. And that's what he did. I mean, he was a 3-sport athlete, terrific athlete, and that's how he coped with things.
I like the way you just the progression of he and Nina.
Yeah.
And that's why I said
Yeah.
when you walked in, to me, this is a love story because you just have to hang on.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. And Nina has had her mental health issues. She was very candid with me. She's had anxiety.
Yeah.
And at one point she said, I'm so not cut out for this life.
What a quote. What
Yeah.
a quote.
Yeah.
Because of, what you have to deal with as the coach's wife at Ohio State. And yet their bond is incredibly strong. They are best friends first. I think there's not much question about that. And she admires Ryan. She really just admires the way that he just can work his way through all these different issues and just not lose himself.
Yeah, that video that somebody captured of RJ, their son, quarterback at DeSales. But we're proud of you, Dad. When on the field after the national championship in his Algona.
You did it.
That's a
You
great
did it.
moment.
You did it.
That's a great,
That's
crazy.
Tremendous.
That's a great moment.
If you know what, because on December the 1st, that little group was that epitomized the very small group where all these arrows are coming left and right. You can talk to Ross Bjork. There was a lot of pressure there, coming from a lot of areas, even though how far-fetched would that to be to get rid of a coach who has done everything but these two things. And he's beaten Michigan, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, on the record, 2019 as a head coach.
Smoked them.
They bushwhacked them, actually. And
they did.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You never know until they play the game, Bill. But the bottom line is literally what you want in a head coach. Smart, looking forward, not backward, not living in the past. The group he'd built around with Mark Pantoni and Mick Marotti, they were holdovers from the Urban Meyer era, but they are so part and parcel to everything that's happened at Ohio State. The coaching staff he had put together, fine, because he's made some missteps in coaching hires, one in particular, which cost him, but he took care of that.
Yep.
He learned on the job, as I said. But then it all comes down to a W or an L on one day of the year. Really, as I called it, a lot of the people, especially the very outspoken ones, are just jackasses. I mean, you are he upset your day, so you're going to ruin or try to ruin his life, his family's life. I get real fired up about this because I've been around this for a long time.
Yeah, it is ultimately just a game, right? I understand the passion of fans, and they should be passionate, and that's what makes Ohio State special.
Sure.
But there should be limits. And the stuff that they had to endure was ridiculous. They had to have security at their house.
Yeah.
For the whole playoff run. And one of the I actually wrote about this in the Dispatch in January. when they win the national championship and they get home and Day sees the security guard.
Oh,
And he says,
this is
"You
okay.
can go home now."
Yep.
And it's like,
I've heard that. That's legit.
damn. Yeah. And even when you said, you did it. What does Ryan say? We did it.
We
did it.
So he knew.
We're so proud of
Not
you.
Oh,
just-
hell yeah.
Not just me. Nina said that she's never seen him work so fanatically, nonstop in those 6 weeks. She said the Clemson game in 19, because they lost in 18, that
Right.
Yeah.
horrible game. He worked that way for that game, but it wasn't 6 weeks. That was one game.
Yeah.
He worked like crazy during the whole playoff rings. He knew the only way to exercise this ghost, the demon, right, is to win it all. You can't just beat Tennessee. You can't just beat Oregon. You can't just beat Texas. You got to win them all. Not that he was going to get fired, but they were
It's their moment.
1 foot out the door, and the second one was close.
Yeah.
If they had lost to Tennessee, I think almost no way that he stays. Not that Ross Bjork or Ohio State would have fired him,
Right.
but they would have just said, "This is not worth it."
Well, it would have. Yeah. It would have been some kind of like joint resolution, for one for another term.
Worked out whatever kind of arrangement.
Yeah. They would. No, but I meant
choice.
Yeah, that's what I meant there. I mean, it's like, because really on paper, how do you justify firing a guy? You know what I mean? I mean, that's my point, no matter what it looks like. Now, in modern times, we just saw James Franklin fired after losing 3 in a row. And, one touchdown spread through all 3 of those, and he's still undefeated because they probably do go and beat Iowa. Who knows? But you understand what I'm saying? Bill, we're in a weird time right now.
It is. I asked Ryan Day the question last week, I guess.
Yeah.
James Franklin got fired at the press conference. Just how precarious everybody's
the great
Walendas is, right? You lose a couple games and you go from hero to bum, and
vice versa. Kalen DeBoer at Alabama,
right?
Dude, people were figuring out. I mean, national radio hosts of quote repute end quote were figuring out what the buyout would be, how they could spread it out over years. Get rid of Kalen DeBoer now because he lost to Florida State. Here we are.
And that's what makes what Ohio State has done all the more remarkable. All these other blue blood programs have lost.
Yes.
Everyone. You look at the 6 undefeated teams in this, right now: Indiana, Navy, Georgia Tech, BYU,
Texas A&M.
I think other than maybe Texas A&M, none of them are considered, elite programs.
Right.
And Ohio State just seems impervious to all the stuff that has knocked other teams down.
Hey, let's get back to the book though. I wanted to ask you, I mean, go ahead if you've got something pressing, Clay. He's not.
Was there a nugget when it's like, scoops, nugget, an epiphany?
Yeah, there are, I think, a lot of them. I knew the first interview I did. I remember this is the longest college football season of all time, right?
Yes.
So I get back January 22nd or something like that. My first interview for the book was January 27th. And I remember there was coaching stuff, Dole's leaves and Chip leaves. And so I was working even.
Yeah.
I had Nina and I met at a coffee shop in Powell on January 27th. And we talked for like 2 hours. When I got done with that, I thought, yeah, we're in good shape in terms of having a foundation,
a base.
Because she had told me so much about growing up in New Hampshire and some of what had happened with Ryan and his father. At least I had, a glimpse of that. That was when I was like, okay, I'm off to a good start here. I mean, Ryan Day, the one thing that he did for me or with the book that he's not done anywhere else that I'm aware of is go into any kind of depth about the Michigan cheating stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, spill the beans here because I want people to buy the book.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But
just throw a couple of beans out there.
Let's just say that his antenna was up.
Yeah.
That's
a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Let's just, when this kind of broke, it wasn't necessarily breaking news to him.
Mm-hmm.
What he said, I'll let people who buy the book discover it.
Yeah.
And then even this year, when the NCAA finally came out with their report, like it was on a Friday, they met with us on Monday, and he starts off by saying, "I'm not talking about that." The author in me was like, "Good,
thank you, Lord,
thank you," because he did with me. And so I think actually the heart of the book, first of all, Ryan Day's story is the heart of the book. But so many of the players had just amazing stories and amazing journeys. I think of
Oh, yeah.
like G. Scott Jr. One of
Yeah.
the great stories in this book that he told me was, he was a problem child when he got to Ohio State. He was a wide receiver, decides to become a tight end. It's
Mhm.
not a smooth transition. He was a guy who was always complaining, just a pain in the butt. And he remember in the Michigan game in 2021 or two, I forget which, he headbutted a guy. It was
Right.
a very costly penalty in that game.
2022.
Yeah. And
Mm.
so it gets to a point where he's like, I'm out of here. This is,
Yeah.
I'm not happy here. He gets in his car. He starts driving towards Seattle, where he's from. He gets to Indiana, pulls over at this convenience store.
That quickly, huh? you know what I'm saying? Because Seattle's a long way to drive.
Seattle, he was contemplating.
3
He gets
hours
his car.
into this life-changing.
Right.
Yeah.
And somebody in the store or somebody gets suspicious, and they call the cops. And the policeman comes, and as G. Scott says, here I am. I'm a black man with dreadlocks in a tinted car. People, look, this could have gone very badly. This could have gone very badly.
Yep.
Instead, the policeman is very sympathetic. What's going on with you? What are you doing?
Mhm.
And he, for whatever reason, felt comfortable enough, G. Scott did, to kind of bare his soul. And the cop takes him on his rounds with him that night, meets his son. They have pizza together. It's kind of this crazy story. And the policeman convinces G to go back to Ohio State.
Really?
Life's not so bad. It's not irredeemable. He goes back. He's very sheepish about going back to the Woody. He's got to, skip practice.
Yeah.
And he's worried, is Ryan Day going to kick him off the team? And at that point, he didn't really care that much, but it's just the embarrassment of what he had done. And Ryan Day says to him, I just want what's best for you. You're forgiven. I understand. G. Scott Sr., his father, told me that he thinks Ryan Day saved his life.
Yeah.
Because he gave him a second chance. And G. Scott is the one who made the play against Oregon to set the tone.
Yep.
30-yard gain on the first snap.
Yep.
And he was the one who, at the end of the players' meeting, the meeting with Day, said a prayer that had people in tears.
Yep.
So, all these things converge. Why is it Buckeye Brotherhood? Because it was.
Hey,
it was.
And as I've said to many people, and I wouldn't call myself a devout whatever. I don't go around, you know what I mean? I mean, I got, anyway, I won't get into that. But when it comes to religion, but the spiritual component on this team, as Larry Johnson and I've talked about many times, you could see it working. And G. Scott Jr. was in the midst of it all, along with Travion.
Right.
But G. Scott Jr. went from the headbutt to being that guy on that team that really, when they needed, instead of walking out of that meeting, I don't think this is going to work, blah, 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 they joined hands or whatever, had a prayer, right? And became a true brotherhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had his dad, by the way, on my podcast many times. I mean, G. Scott Sr. is one of the great individuals you ever run into.
He, there is a chapter on faith. And the G. Scott story leads that chapter.
Yeah.
You mentioned Travion, Will Howard, Jack Sawyer,
Yes.
Mecca, go down the list.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people that was, they showed up at training camp.
Caleb Downs even.
Yeah. Caleb Downs with Jesus One shirts.
And
look, that could be divisive, right? It can be if it's not handled the right way. And I asked Ryan Day about that. I asked Will Howard about that. And they said yes, because it was inclusive. It wasn't like, because there are people of other religions. There are people who are not religious at all. And that could be really a problem. But they did it in a way that it wasn't, which is kind of threading a needle in a way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Inclusive is the key,
and
no
the
matter.
way it should be done, not beat somebody over the
You're
head.
not in our club. Get out of here. What are you doing here? Instead, it was embracing and it's still that way on this team. I mean, from what I can tell, you always wonder whether something's going to run its time, but if it's legitimate, that's the key. Is it legitimate or guys faking? This has been legitimate so far. I mean, I've been quite impressed with that. Hey, as a game, who did you get to know? Who'd you get to know besides Ryan and Nina and even G. Scott Jr.? But who'd you get to know in developing this book that just gave you more insight into that guy than you thought he was. You know, more depth than you thought maybe he possessed.
Right. That's a great question. This was an impressive group. I thought when I did the chase about the 14 team that those guys will really be mature beyond their years.
Yeah.
Guys like Michael Bennett and just a bunch of really just smart guys.
Right.
And it was very similar with Will Howard, as we know, is just, the best talker of any quarterback I've ever covered, college or pro. I mean, just insightful and engaging, and you can see the charisma. I mean, it's just
yes.
natural.
You compare him last year's starting quarterback with this year's starting quarterback. I mean,
well, Julian's a freshman.
Young guy. But Will
was a finished product.
Will understood what you wanted.
Yes. I mean, I'm thinking about like a lesser known guy like Tegra Chavola, who of the 22 starters, probably if people were to rank them in terms of notoriety or whatever, probably last. I mean, right? He's probably the most anonymous starter.
Yeah.
His story, being born in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
And his family comes over. He doesn't know the language. He knows like 5 or whatever languages now, but a really sharp guy. And his story is phenomenal. Jaden Fielding, the kicker, how he got to Ohio State, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
Basically, he ended up one of the teams that caught the opponents that he kicked against. They caught Ohio State's eye was the infamous Bishop Sycamore, because Ohio State was watching Cornell Tate, and they see this kicker. That's what's crazy. But just what he endured all season, because he had this adductor injury. The one thing during the spring when he kind of fessed up to that, I was like, because you told me that.
Yeah.
But the stuff that he endured after that game, after missing 2 field goals against Michigan, and then the fact that he was the one who kicked the clinching field goal against Notre Dame. And they were at a 99% chance of winning, probably. But that was the one that was mathematically impossible for Notre Dame to come back from that. You have to feel good for a guy like that.
Absolutely.
Feel good. Yeah. Cody Simon, who stuck it out and didn't start until his 5th year.
Right.
Even Jack Sawyer.
Cody Simon, in my opinion, at the end of the year was the best linebacker in the country in terms of production, efficiency, getting the job done, and being a leader.
Absolutely.
There was nobody better than him at the end of that season last year. Go ahead.
Jack Sawyer was 1 minute late to a workout in June that threatened to cost him being a captain, and he was just devastated. Devastated that because the leaders had told Mickey Marotti, make this offseason as hard as you possibly can. Don't cut us any slack. Well, he was 1 minute late. I'm not cutting you any slack. And when he became a captain, when he just worked his butt off to become a captain, it was just like the greatest day of his life until he went to Texas. And second greatest day of his life.
Dude, isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing, though? The interception he had against Michigan? That was going to be in Buckeye lore ad infinitum. But oh my goodness, he gets another chance.
His former roommate.
Right? Bam.
And
bingo.
So there were so many ways in this story kind of comes full circle.
What I read today in getting his offer from Urban.
Yes.
And that is a great, he's looking at him like he doesn't really want to offer me.
So Jack's 15. I think it was his freshman year.
Probably 185 pounds.
Yeah, he started.
When that day he committed, I was like, oh.
Yeah, so Ohio State, Jack Sawyer was a young kid. He's, I think, 15 or so. And obviously Ohio State's coaches and Mark Pantoni had seen enough to say, we should offer this guy.
Yeah.
Well, Urban apparently didn't get the memo. So he offers him in his office, but as Jack told me, it almost was like he didn't want to do it.
Right.
It was like, well, our coaches say you're good. I haven't seen it, but your coaches say you're good.
He was already working on him, though.
And Jack's like, wait a minute. Does the guy even want me or not?
Yeah.
Now over time they became closer, but then Urban leaves, of course.
Yeah.
And he and Shelley in particular bond over a very strange thing. They both love Swedish fish. So, a little candy. And so they would sit at basketball games and share Swedish fish together. And that was kind of the way he and Nina bonded.
That's cool as heck. I mean,
Nina
a team.
Nina and Jack Sawyer.
Jack Sawyer.
Oh.
Yeah. A team, man. You look at on the field sometimes and you go, how did this group ever get together? You got.
I mean, scholarship guys, 100. They're all different. All come from all different backgrounds.
I know, but it's just strange how you put them together and you're looking, they can talk all they want. Coaches across the country can talk all they want. Well, they got to be a fit. You're not even looking at them unless they can play football really well. So number one, the first thing they got to be is a hell of a football player. But then the way Pantoni and his group and the assistant coaches and even, Ryan for sure, the way they can figure out whether a guy is a right fit and then really truly pursue them, I think is one of even in the transfer portal, it's truly amazing what the formula, whatever you want to call it, they've developed. You agree?
The five guys they got through the transfer portal: Will Howard, Caleb Downs, Seth McLaughlin, Quinshon Judkins, and Will Kazmarek.
Yes.
Will was hurt, of course, for some of the season.
Yeah. Will Kazmarek. Yeah.
Right. Were, especially the first one, indispensable.
Yes.
Right?
They hit on
indispensable.
every one of them.
And they don't always do that. Look, there are guys,
Sure.
that they haven't hit on, but the ones they had to last year. Now, Caleb Downs, everyone knew he was a great player. But Will Howard had an up and down career at Kansas State. He might not have even started last year for them because they had this, Avery Johnson, who was
That's
kind
what
of
they
the
said.
fair-haired cold boy, and they wanted to, he was the crowd favorite.
Right.
So
they're still rooting for him out there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Will Howard comes here, and he has a lot to prove. And think about the challenge for him. He comes to this new place. They have Devin Brown, so they have real competition, and an incredibly established team. And yet, you're the quarterback. You've got to eventually become the leader, but you can't force it. You got to pay your dues and get people to like you and respect you first.
Right.
Talk about threading a needle. That is threading a needle, and he did it perfectly. Now we know Will Howard, and we know his personality, and not many people have his personality. It's just he walks into a room and he's like everybody's friend.
Right.
Way, just one of those people.
And he will be your spokesman if you want him to be. And then on top of that, here's the other thing that the dynamic that went on with him last year that people didn't give enough credit to. I'm telling you, I remember sitting in on what do you call a lesson from Billy Fessler at one of the coaches' clinics, and just talking about Will Howard when he came in the door and Will Howard when he left, the difference that Ohio State, not just Billy Fessler, but Billy Fessler was so much involved in it. Mechanically, what a much better thrower of the football he became. Mentally, with Chip Kelly and Billy Fessler and Ryan Day, a much better student of the game that he became. I mean, he not only showed up, hey, I'm ready to play quarterback. He showed up ready to learn and become their leader, no questions asked. I thought that was remarkable.
Yeah, he wanted to be coached hard.
Yes.
And it was funny. I Ryan Day.
That's a good line. Yeah.
I sent him a manuscript, and I thought the one thing he might not like was the way Will Howard described the way Ryan Day is in practice. I don't know if we can swear on this podcast or not, but I'll keep it clean.
We keep it pretty clean. But if it means something to the story, we'll take that PG-13.
So Will Howard was describing how Ryan Day would stand behind him and say, "Now, Paul, now, like, get rid of it now." So what are you effing doing? What are you effing doing?
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, it's like, right? But Will Howard was thankful for it. And so when Ryan actually said to me, he said, one of my favorite parts was that sequence when I was like, I was so worried you wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, and Julian Sands getting it now.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think he's completing 80% of his passes? Because he's been coached hard. The games are so much easier than the practices.
I want to come back. Remember Julian saying, ask me about that. I want to come back to that. But I want to ask this one thing. I don't know if you remember, it was a press conference where I asked Will, they were going, I forgot who it was, they were about ready to play. And I said, how do you get ready for a team now? Y'all played, whatever, but the windows, they get smaller when you play better teams. And he kind of looked at me funny, like but I think he understood what I meant was you can't have that half second hesitation. Yeah. Just like it goes back to that anecdote about Ryan sitting back there now. Yeah. I mean, Ryan works these quarterbacks. When you watch in pregame warmups, he is working on these quarterbacks right up to the start of the game in terms of you've got to be mentally sharp, ready to go. If you get a ball batted down at the line of scrimmage, guess whose fault that is? Right. That's a quarterback's fault.
And Ryan Day, of course, was a quarterback, which helps immensely.
Right, but the way he works them is, in my opinion, is because he comes off in press conferences as an accommodating, really nice guy. But you know what, Johnny Dixon, we just had him on our podcast earlier this week, Johnny Dixon, former Ohio State player, but got to know, because Ryan showed up in 2017 as the new quarterbacks coach, parentheses, offensive coordinator. But the word he used to describe Ryan, which I totally agree with, is the word fierce. He is a fierce competitor. And behind the scenes, he allows very little slack. Now, Urban, you could, from just talking with Urban, you knew he was that guy.
Right.
But most people don't know that about Ryan, about holding both players and coaches responsible.
One of my favorite parts of the book, honestly, is it was hard for me to figure out where to put it. So I'm not sure I put it in exactly the right spot, but it was in the after the Michigan chapter.
Hey, if it's in there, it's in there.
Talking about his kids and family, and it's hilarious how competitive Ryan is. That when Nina and Ryan were dating, and they went to play putt-putt.
Yeah, right.
He wouldn't let her win. That a few years ago, Nina, who was a high school or a college basketball player herself,
yes,
won. They played pig, and she won. And he wouldn't talk to her for days. RJ beat him in a one-on-one final. The first time the son beats the father, right?
Great Santini. No,
very much, very much. And Ryan hits RJ hits the last shot, goes running gleefully into the house. And Ryan I said, I asked RJ, what did Ryan and what your dad do? He said, well, he just walked around for a while, then didn't talk to me for a couple of days. And this is the funniest thing. Ryan, I think, is 6'1".
Yeah.
RJ, obviously, still growing.
Yeah.
And Nina would measure him, RJ.
Oh, here we go.
Every month. Well, when RJ finally got to Ryan's height, Ryan would argue that no, he wasn't taller than me. And she said, I have to put away the measuring stick because it just got ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how competitive he is. We've had this running joke. I used to be a tennis player.
We got to put Ryan in touch with Tom Cruise. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I used to joke with Ryan that, I would beat him in ping pong and stuff. We still never played. But, I want to do it because I want to see it firsthand. I want to see, I don't know that I can still play tennis on his level, but, I want to do it just for the story.
Did you talk to Ty Tucker for this book?
No, but I have talked to Ty plenty.
He can give you that story.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
he hits with the Ohio State players.
Yes.
And he thinks he belongs in the court with them.
Yes.
And anyone who's actually watched Ohio State play, look, they're a great tennis team. They're national contenders every year.
They're a juggernaut.
And they're 25 years younger than Ryan Day is.
Yes.
I mean, it's unrealistic for Ryan Day to hit with them on any kind of serious way. But in his mind, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, though, the thing about Julian, because you didn't really get into, I would think you didn't get much into him.
No, just his recruitment.
Correct. That's what I wanted to ask you about, though. What was Julian's take? Or did you talk to Julian about him, or did you talk to just Ryan?
I think at that point I just talked.
Okay, let's talk about Ryan then. Yeah. What was Ryan's take on that basically manna from heaven falling in his lap?
Well, the key was the fact that Ohio State had no NIL money left.
Yeah.
And they go to Julian and his parents, who are comfortable but not wealthy.
Right, exactly.
And
Dan's a great guy, though.
Oh, they're both.
His dad. Oh, yeah.
And Julie they're wonderful people.
Yes.
And Ryan says to them, look, we've exhausted our NIL. We want Julian very much, but you have to understand we don't have any money to give him. And they're like, that's okay. He'll earn it, And that was not a major issue. Julian wanted to go to Alabama because he wanted to play for Saban. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yep. It was going to be Saban's last quarterback, probably.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But the idea of, look, Ryan Day's track record with quarterback speaks for itself. And Julian, even though he looks like he's 15, he's tough mentally.
Oh, yeah.
So he could handle whatever Ryan Day was going to dish out and just wants to be a great quarterback. And so it could have been a really hard recruitment. Look, if he had wanted X amount of money, it's not going to happen here. You're going to go somewhere else. But he was willing to play the long game. He knew Will Howard was a one-year quarterback. He probably figured, well, if Devin Brown hasn't won the job yet, he might not ever. And I've got confidence to myself. I haven't talked to Julian about that, so I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was willing to put off the NIL reward was the key to it.
Hey, we're in an interesting time now, though. I mean, there's 1,000 questions, that we could talk about and stuff. But like I have not read the full book. I've read a couple of excerpts, but I wanted to ask you, did Ryan in the book, did he bristle at this $20 million, $21 million payroll? And the fact that we all know that there were several schools in the country, even last year, that had a higher payroll. It's just their athletic director didn't let people know about it. And I told Ross Bjork this. I said it ought to be the other way around. It ought to be everybody has to put it out on the table. Eventually, if they do form a mega thing, you got to think that's going to be part of it. But the point was, I like the fact that Ross Bjork did put it out there, only to take the mystery away from it. But then, of course, down south, it became the rallying cry. Well, of course he won. They had $20 million payroll. Go ahead.
Well, I did talk to Ross about it. Ross was like a 2.5-hour interview. We covered a lot of ground.
Oh, yeah.
And what he said his mistake was not saying it was 20 million, and not clarifying like where the 20 million was coming
correct
from.
Yeah, that's what he's told me.
Yeah, that this was basically what Ohio State and the business community was able to share with the players or give them through endorsements and NIL.
Yeah.
So it was misunderstood, which Ross Bjork took the blame for, because it was a casual thing. He said that at the Big Ten meetings. I think I talked to him 5 minutes before whoever
Ross Dellinger, I think it was.
Yeah, broke the story. I just didn't think to ask that question, and Ross Dellinger to his credit did. So I didn't look. NIL stuff is private. I don't care what these guys are making. To me, the more the better. I mean, these are the players.
Well, you don't care if they're making more than $600. You don't know. You don't care where it's coming from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Players
Clearinghouse
put their bodies at the line.
Oh, hell yeah.
I never begrudge anybody who plays the sport getting as much as you can.
You're yin my yang, but I've been advocating.
Toll.
I've been advocating they should be sharing in it for 50 years. But I want the interesting thing here is now you've got revenue sharing of actual money coming from Ohio State from its coffers, right, the athletic department coffers. And I remember I had Mark Pantoni on this show. Well, it was before it became with FanStream Sports, but in the summer, talking about now you're sitting down, and now Mark Pantoni, for example, says maybe I'm not held in such high esteem in the locker room anymore because I'm one of those guys who had to sit down and go, well, you get this much and you get this much, and like he said though, Matt Patricia had been both the GM and head coach at Detroit for the most part, and he really helped them with that parceling. Right. But that is the new way of looking at things for head coaches and their staffs. You can take a pay cut as well as getting a pay raise, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, but the challenge for Ohio State is, let's say that Ohio State's got such a low roster. Let's say the number 20 player on your roster might be the number 5 player on a different team's roster, and therefore that team, in theory, could pay you more. Not
only that, they can tell you. They can tell you in recruiting or in transfer portaling, they could give you this much.
Right. So Ohio State's philosophy is basically this. Now, for the Jeremiah Smiths and the Caleb Downs, you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mess around with those guys. Those guys are going to get whatever they
Jew saying. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. But the pitch to them is you'll get rewarded both toward the end of your career and in the NFL. Look at the contracts our guys are making in the NFL.
Yeah.
Second contracts, because we develop you here. You can get the quick instant gratification cash, or you can put that off and bet on yourself and become the player you think you can be, and you'll get rewarded both here later in your career and in the pros.
Right, which is the way it ought to be.
Yes, but look,
I know.
I talked to Cardale Jones about this for the NIL chapter. We've done his autobiography together.
Yeah.
So, Cardale knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And he said that he never would begrudge somebody for taking the money. He grew up poor in Cleveland. There's a big difference between 200,000 and $1 million, right? Somebody like that's a big difference for us.
Yes.
So it's hard to, and he's just throwing out those numbers as an example. But just if you're getting X and you could go somewhere else and get more, it's hard to say
no.
Right, it's hard to say no. And Ohio State has done a good job. Now they have lost recruits. There's no question they've lost recruits. Kids who've committed or they were in on that want the money up front, essentially.
Because they've never had it. And it's tough to.
Right. And I would never begrudge those people that. I mean, I wouldn't begrudge
anyone that. No.
But Ohio State,
like I said, it's a new world.
Yeah, they've bet on people being able to take the long view.
Yeah.
For most players. Now, like Caden Curry, for example, I'm sure But if he had gone to the pros last year, he wouldn't have been drafted. He just
Right.
didn't have enough of a
Right.
track record. Now I'm sure he will be.
Now look at the resume.
He's a
Yeah.
playmaker. But no, you're exactly right. I mean, but that's what gets me now, Bill. I don't know why I'm whispering again because I talk too loud to begin with, as my wife always reminds me. I always said she has sensitive ears, but everybody else agrees.
No. I
She
get
must
it
be
at my
deaf.
house.
She must be deaf.
Yeah, exactly. But the interesting part about all that is Ohio State has rarely lost a guy in the portal that they truly needed. Even Joe Burrow's clock was ticking. He had been around for a long time. He had 2 years to play now. What do you do when you don't get that just you're the guy? One of Ryan Day's first big decisions, but you got to say, number one, Dwayne Haskins Jr. was pretty damn good. And number two, he had videotape that you didn't have,
That's exactly
which
right.
was the savior of the Michigan game, 2007. But my point is, that's a big difference than a guy who's a freshman who hasn't played much and another school comes after you based on maybe what they saw you do in the spring game or something. That's total different dynamic. Agreed. I mean, but it's funny how Ohio State is still pretty much maintained or kept their fingers gripped on the guys that really matter.
I did a story a couple weeks ago on my Substack, Bill Rabinowitz.substack.com.
By the way, we were supposed to do that at the beginning of the show. Let everybody know where you are.
Yeah, Bill Rabinowitz.substack.com. I did a story on the 2022 Ohio State recruiting class, down to 7 players.
Yeah.
7.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up all the ones who had left. None of them have done anything.
Right.
A major.
Correct.
None of them.
No, so does that mean there were mistakes to sign with Ohio State in the first place?
It means you can take it to mean whatever you want.
You can connotate that any way you want to, but no, you're exactly right.
And the 7 who have stayed, and the irony is the one who hasn't done anything, he's probably redshirted, is C.J. Hicks, who was the highest rated recruit.
Yeah.
And the one who had contributed before this year, the only one really that was an impact player, was Sonny Styles, who was supposed to be the following year but reclassified. Mm-hmm. So the 2022 recruiting class has been basically zero. I'll say zero, but very underachieving by Ohio State standards until this year.
Yeah, and the interesting, but go ahead.
No, it's a kind of an outside the realm.
Well, let me ask you one quickie then.
Yep.
But the C.J. Hicks thing is an example of what I'm talking about. I mean, he had. I think they still see promise there. I mean, whether he's here next year is going to be interesting to see.
Right.
But he could have left 2 years ago.
How many 5-star guys who haven't established themselves
around?
Right.
This
doesn't happen.
Go ahead.
So how do you and the publisher, or maybe it's a decision beyond that, how do you decide, all right, our first printing is going to be this number?
Oh, yeah.
Our second will be.
That's their thing. It depends on how the book sells. I'm encouraged.
So they wait till it.
Yeah.
Sure.
They have their however many copies. I don't even know how many they printed. Well, I take it as a very good sign that I've gotten deluged yesterday and today by people who say they've gone on Amazon and it's already sold out.
There you go. Good for you.
That's good and bad. I mean, I want people to get the books right away.
Early Christmas shopping.
Yeah. I mean, this is my little pitch. Buy 10 of them and your Christmas shopping's done for the it's done.
Even your Hanukkah shopping, right?
There we go.
But no, it is an intriguing thing because my buddy Jeff Snook, Jeff, he's written a ton of books, and you never ever really quite know which one's going to hit. You can have the most interesting character, and then this guy for Hawaiian Tropic paid him to write his book about him. And anyway, it's long story. That may be his most successful, payday because it's continuing to pay. You know what I mean? It's really interesting. But Buckeye Nation gives you a little bit of a foot in the door, right?
Oh, it's the largest fan base in the country. So, But I did a podcast with Jeff Perlman, who's a real author. This is his 11th book. His book on Tupac Shakur came out yesterday as well. So we did a podcast together. And he said, I don't know which books are going to sell. I mean, we just, some of it's just timing. Some of it is, you just don't know. So I would hope that people would be interested in this. If people want to know, everyone knows what happened, right? We all know what happened.
Yeah.
But if you want to know how it happened, why it happened,
sure,
the inside story. I mean, I talked to all of these people. I mean, almost everybody that was relevant to the story. And you kind of, and I had 4 months to do it, which limited me to some degree, but it was, it's a labor of love/hate, because when you're doing it, it's just utter hell.
Blood comes out of your fingertips, right?
Because I was still working for the Dispatch, and I took 3 weeks of vacation off during it. So I was working my day job, and then my, book. For 4 months, I had 1 day off, and that was my son's wedding. I said, I'm not working on my son's
So
wedding.
you weren't even playing with your grandson? I mean,
Well, he was born. My little grandson, who's adorable,
yes.
almost 5 months old, was born 8 days after the manuscript. So I
Wow.
the acknowledgement.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The
Perfect
little
timing.
guy,
Yeah.
The little guy gave me incentive and motivation to make sure that I
That's
didn't slack off.
Great.
Yeah, he's adorable.
I love my grandson so much. It's kind of weird.
It's, I love the creative process. I love having written. Isn't that kind of the standard?
Yeah.
I love having
written.
It's easy to look back when it's done.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because at least for me, when I'm writing a book, and all of them have been accidental. I didn't plan to write any of them. I never planned to be an author. It was never a goal of mine. They just have happened. I mean, Urban, I remember he kept saying it to me. Well, somebody ought to write a book about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess I can do it. Right.
Here's the thing. You knew that I wasn't going to try to beat you to it, because I've probably written 2 million stories in my life. And I'm telling you, man, like you just said, sitting down there, all I can ever think about, like the last many years of my career, of my writing career, was, when's this going to be over? Meaning, all I could think about was the ending, not the beginning.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you've been writing, and that story is tough. But with the first book, Buckeye Rebirth, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never done it before, and it was learned by trial.
Did you begin the beginning? Is that what you did?
I did. And Urban Meyer can be, and he was great. He really was. But you never know,
right?
And so anyway, so I did that one, and then 14 Habits. Like, okay, well, I got to do that one. And then the Cardell thing, I was approached to help with that. And then this one, it was like, well, I guess I've got no choice with this one.
Yeah.
And it's hell, because at least for me, I always think during the process, you've got to get 5,000 jigsaw puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
You got to create those with your interviews, and then you got to figure out where they fit. And unlike a real jigsaw puzzle, you don't know that they're going to fit.
Right.
You don't know how they fit. Like I mentioned the one story about Ryan Day's competitive. So like, okay, where do I put this? And it wasn't until almost the very end that I thought, okay, this doesn't suck too much. And then you finish it and you go, maybe it doesn't suck. And then you have a little distance. You might read it over after the editors have looked at it, and you go, okay, that's pretty good. Now I can look at it and go, yeah, I think this is my best book.
Think about this. I mean, just the Ryan Day, if somebody retained this for movie rights, you could take the stuff about Ryan Day, not, obviously dealing with his dad's suicide, and then moving on from there, but also taking his family, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, back and forth a couple of times, and then settling finally in Columbus.
City he'd never been to before.
Yeah.
He'd never been here.
And now he's in his 9th year at Ohio State. And then from just that journey from 2017, where we're all just like on top of him, like, what a passing game genius you are. You know what I mean? The mesh route, what? Unveiled at Indiana, same game J.K. Dobbins was unveiled, and right on down the line. And then just like you said, security at the door, security at the end of the driveway, craziness. Hey, you can go home now, which would be a great, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Be a great last line to a movie. You know what I mean?
That's the last scene of the movie.
That in itself, this book has that.
About Hollywood.
This book has that in it. I'm telling you. And
ready to direct.
A lot of times guys buy the movie rights just to get the essence of it. You know what I mean? And just like Top Gun, the greatest movie ever made, was based off a Sunday magazine story in the LA Times or something. You know what I mean?
Even Ryan Day becoming the interim coach in 2018.
Yes.
I mean, you have Greg Schiano on staff. You have Kevin Wilson on staff, both former head coaches.
Correct.
And Gene Smith. I mean, when Ryan Day or when Urban Meyer was suspended, we all thought it would be
one of those two guys,
or even Larry Johnson.
Yes,
longtime coach.
Right.
And so Gene brings all those 3 coaches along with Ryan into the room
together.
And he says, Urban's on suspension, and Ryan, you're going to be the coach. And he's like, me?
Yeah.
Even Nina.
That's what I'm talking about.
Even Nina says,
I think we all said that a little bit, right?
Yeah,
like,
Nina,
what?
Nina was
Him?
at like Kohl's trying on, her daughter was trying on shoes when the news breaks.
Right.
And Ryan doesn't even have time to tell him.
Right.
And they get in the car and they hear this on the news. And even Nina's like,
huh?
Yeah, exactly. Why Ryan?
Aliens have landed. Aliens have landed.
And that was, he passed that audition, which you probably didn't know was an audition.
Yeah.
How about the little nugget from TCU? Maybe that's just a tease.
Yeah, the crazy.
But the team runs up to him. This guy right here.
Yes. So they're playing the TCU game, where they have this gimmick where a guy feigns like he's hurt, and they're going to throw a lateral and play is designed so that nobody sees this guy, and he runs 100 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that the lateral was a forward lateral.
Right.
And so the play doesn't work. And Ryan Day has thought ever since then, what if that play had worked? And I don't get that game.
Yeah.
I never get this chance.
I never get the job.
Yeah. That was great. And you think about it though, his trick play stuff has been haunted ever since, man. Remember Kirby Smart with his timeout, just before the fake punt went, and really Kirby was just clapping, as we all know now. You know what I'm talking about? A couple weeks ago, and then there's been a couple others that were just blown up. I mean, he should stay away from the trick plays. I'm not even that one they ran down. Was it at Washington where Bo Jackson went into the game and they lined him up like in a weird position, and he went out to the wide and they ended up throwing to him, but it was like, well, just line up and blast him. You know what I mean? But good for him. I want to ask one last thing about Ryan. What's your sense of him and here? Meaning, do you sense aspirations? Because I've got to talk to him a few times. I always treasure any moment you can have with a head coach at this level and in this era. But I think he really likes what he's doing. Number one, he knows, he can see the machine work operating. You still got to go around and use the oil can, but he sees the machine operating, right? I mean, and he's got to like the hum ears from the machine. So what do you think about him and aspirations?
That's the one thing I did not ask him for the book, because I was just trying to keep it on the book.
Sure.
And I knew he had limited time. So I would talk to him. We had a few sit down interviews. I'd go in there for an hour or whatever, but then there were a bunch of short calls when he was driving somewhere, and I would clear up, or we would clear up something.
Yeah.
So I didn't ask him that. My sense of it is he's not going anywhere until RJ is done.
Right.
Which is, he's a junior now.
That's why I asked him the other day, when are you going to offer RJ? You see what I'm saying?
So
he said, by the way, ask Nina.
I think some of it will depend on if they lose to Michigan again, or then if they face that vitriol again.
Yeah.
Down the road.
Yeah.
Because
what do you want, people?
I don't think they're going to want to tolerate that, go through that again. I always think that coaches want to coach at the highest level, which of course is the NFL. I also know that his NFL years, the 2 years, didn't go well.
Right.
No, not
Eagles
at all.
And the 49ers were disastrous.
Right.
Not because of him, just the teams were bad. I think that, look, Ohio State coaching job is a pressure cooker. It's incredibly difficult. One of the things I did last year was, the series Best American Sports Writing.
Yeah.
Right? I, for some reason, had this 1951 edition of it. And there was a magazine story about how Ohio State is essentially the graveyard of coaches.
Yes.
And this
I've
was
seen that.
before the Michigan games. This didn't happen before but I thought that he might want. So I gave him the book and showed it. And he made copies of it, gave it to everybody. It was it's always been like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's always been like this. I mean, Ohio State football was the only game in town for a long time. Obviously, you have the Blue Jackets and the Crew.
Dude. Yeah, I was going to say,
State.
make sure you check yourself at the door there.
Yeah. And so, he also knows that as much of a pressure cooker as this job is, he can stack the deck. I mean, that's the difference. In the NFL, you're designed to go 8-8 or 500. In college, you can still stack that, even with NIL. And look, Ohio State is well positioned in the NIL era to supplement the NIL with business opportunities. It's a big city. It's the only program in the country that dominates its state.
Right.
It has a big city that dominates its state. So you're always going to be well positioned that way. You're always going to be able to get recruits, because Ohio State at this point recruits itself. If you're a 5-star wide receiver, why would you go anywhere else? Or at least consider Ohio.
Consider is the main word there.
I mean,
Yeah.
at least you consider. And it might not be the right fit or whatever.
Right.
But if you're a quarterback now, I mean, look, Julian Sain wasn't really heavily recruited by Ohio State the first time, but when it was an option, it was like, sure. So Ohio State does recruit itself to a certain level, and you can stack the deck. And now with the 12-team playoff, which will probably expand at some point, you're guaranteed almost to be in the playoff every year. And so it's a plum job. I think if you were to ask what's the best coaching job in the country, I think Ohio State's probably number one.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I think it's now, what does preeminent mean? Does that mean the top?
Best. Yeah.
Yeah, best.
Yeah.
So eminent is almost the best.
Eminent is very, very good. Preeminent.
I'm messing with you.
Post-eminent would be, I don't know.
Yeah, the preeminent. I think it is the preeminent program as we speak now.
As we've talked about, I mean, look, Ohio State's the only program in the country that's not had an extended dip.
Right.
They haven't had consecutive losing seasons in more than a century.
A lot of good hires.
Well, that's the key, right? You had Woody, you had
It's always the man in charge.
Earl, you
That's
had
it.
Cooper, you had Tressel, you had Urban, and now you have Ryan Day. Ryan Day's, of course, got the higher winning percentage than Newton Rockne, for God's sake.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Shh, don't tell Notre Dame people that.
I know you don't have a 10-year.
We might have 2 or 3 watching.
That's right. He hasn't done it long enough.
But
better than Canute.
It's a great job as long as you can manage the pressure. As long as.
Oh, yeah.
And it's probably harder for a coach who's got school-age kids, younger kids, because you know that what you do will affect their lives.
That's right.
Which is hard. But I think Ryan Day, having won a national championship now, and if they beat Michigan this year, and I think if they beat Michigan, they don't have to win the national championship again. You know, it's just beat Michigan.
You take care of that box.
Right. That Ryan Day is never going to face the vitriol that he did last year. But I will tell you that I completely understand why they were 1 foot out the door.
Of course.
Well, completely understand.
Of course. Who doesn't? Number one. Number two, the interesting thing about winning that national championship really doesn't guarantee you. Just ask Gene Chizik. Really doesn't guarantee you anything. Larry Coker. If you slack off, I mean, here's Ryan. They're doing anything but slacking off.
And I think he's been different this year. He's been more
intense.
I mean,
he has.
Now he has it. Everybody knows he has it. Remember, I asked him that in preseason camp. I said, do you get a sense when these guys are looking at you now, they're looking at you differently than they did even a year ago, because you have proven that if you stick to our plan, whatever the plan is, right? It works. And we got proof. It's right up there in the trophy case.
Yeah. I think that I think their biggest opponent for the next 4 weeks, at least, is complacency. And he's doing everything in his power to not let that set in.
Yeah.
You could just tell. It was funny. I think he was lighter in the spring in terms of demeanor.
Yeah. I think he changed even in the spring. Yeah. Remember, he talked to us about that.
Yes. And I think the idea is, okay, I'm not cutting these guys slack. But I think, look, he's got a bunch of players a lot to prove, which is great. In 2015, Urban had the most talented team maybe that Ohio State's ever had.
Amen.
And they kind of blew it.
It was only a 14 playoff. Second year of the 14 playoff. They didn't get invited.
But it wasn't. I mean, obviously the Michigan State loss that year was the one that kept them out. But if you remember, that team did not play the way that we thought they would until they lost.
The conundrum at quarterback at the beginning of the year, blah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this guy's got to get so many touches. This guy's got so many touches.
Yeah.
As great a job as Urban did in 14, he didn't do such a great job in 15.
Yeah.
And only after they lost to Michigan State. Then they go up to Michigan and blow them out. And then they blew out the USC.
Yeah. Yeah.
And or Notre Dame, whatever. I forget.
No, they beat Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl.
Right.
But
so
yeah.
So I think that Ryan Day wanted to make sure that he wasn't here when Urban did in 15, obviously, but he knows how it should work.
Yeah.
And he was asked the other day, I forget if you asked, somebody asked, do you try to make sure that so-and-so gets this many touches? And he said, well, we're not immune from that, but that's not our focus.
Yeah.
And I mean, it'd be easy to target Jeremiah Smith 15 times a game.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they clearly at one point in the game, Wisconsin said, throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith.
Well, the first drive.
Yeah.
Unreal.
No, but I'm talking about even later in the game. It was like, let him get his kid. Yeah. That happened.
They are who they are right now. They're a passing team.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think he wants to get the run game fixed. I think they certainly can. They
Yes.
have the line to do it. They have the running backs to do it.
Yes.
There's no reason they can't do it. They just haven't. And it was interesting to get in against Wisconsin, which obviously is a bad team. That the first drive, they were like, we're not going to worry about the run game. We're just going to make sure you understand you're playing Ohio State and you got no chance in this game.
Right.
Ohio State, the one thing I think they do better than anybody that I've seen, they can get 7 yards anytime they want.
Absolutely.
You throw, Jeremiah Smith, curl, pass. Julian Sands got a great arm.
Tailgate show before the game last Saturday. It was Anthony Rothman, me, and Dave Biddle, and they were talking about the running game's got to get going. Do you think you're going to come in and establish the run? Blah blah blah. And I'm like looking at them cross-eyed, only because Ohio State is the best passing attack. I'm talking about of efficiency in the country. You go out there, you take care of business with what you do better than anybody else with these players that are involved, including even pass pro for the most part. And you move on. You've got this rising superstar at quarterback. You take care, and then you work on the run game. And lo and behold, like I said, I think Brian Hartline and Ryan were listening to that show. But that's
I'm sure they were.
Exactly. But that is what they did. I go, yeah. Now I get them now. Forget about what they've got. I get how they're thinking, and it would be foolish not to do it. I want to ask you one thing before we're done.
I was going to give you because we're going to be here.
No, it's going to be my last question. What is the if you could say the gist of this book? Is it never say never? Is it get up off the mat when you're knocked down? You know what I mean? Some kind of cliche thing. Yeah. What would you say would be the gist of what you learned and what this book points out more than anything else? Because basically what you do in a book like this, you pretty much chronicle history, but you always do it from as I say, his story is HIS, your story, taking all this into account. But what would you say is the genesis, or not the genesis, the gist of this book that people should take?
I think it's somewhat similar to 2014 Book to the Chase, which is, everybody is going to face hard times.
Yeah.
Everybody, you don't get through life unscathed.
That's it.
I mean, you just don't,
How do you
people
respond?
die in your lives. People die. I mean, you deal with injustice, you deal with health issues, you deal with all kinds of stuff. And a lot of it's beyond your control. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Some of it is, of course, but the ones who succeed are the ones who persevere. And they hold on tight to them, they their own inner mental strength, and they rely on other people. You cannot live this life fixing your own problems 100% by yourself.
Yeah.
I've told my kids this. We are here for you, and your mom and I, your friends, your family. Lean on people when you need help.
Yeah. But also take responsibility.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do everything you can to be the best you can be.
Yeah.
But understand that life is going to knock you down. It's going to knock you down. And these players and coaches were all knocked down.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we haven't talked about Jim Knowles at all.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Knowles grew up the son of a cop in Philadelphia, and he shows up at his high school graduation with bruises all over his face because he had been hit by cops, and he was standing on a street corner in Philadelphia, in a nearby bar, as he would say. Well, every corner in Philadelphia had a bar.
At a bar, yeah.
And he was the wrong place at the wrong time, and this bar fight spills outside, and the cops hit everyone in sight. He gets hit by a nightstick, and he shows up at his graduation with sunglasses and all bruised face. I mean, he came up the hard way.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, all these coaches, Larry Johnson, think about what he must have endured growing up when he did as a black man, and,
Virginia, et cetera. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All these players, Will Howard, the ups and downs of Kansas State. And so I think that's the message. It's probably the message of a lot of books, but you're going to face adversity. It's all about how you respond to it.
Get this. I covered the Buster Douglas Tyson fight over in Tokyo.
Did you pick him to win?
Yeah, I know. By the way, thanks for the newspaper thing, because
I found a newspaper
I didn't keep any of that.
Ago, Tim May's game story on the Buster Douglas game, so I gave that to Tim.
Yeah, but I asked Tyson. You had to be there. I mean, there was a fight in the press conference by between two sports writers. I mean, in the post-fight press conference, it was crazy. Don King's trying to steal the fight back. Everything's going on crazy in the Tokyo Dome. There's, as you know, there's a million stories. I've told you 1.8 of them. But I remember at the press conference, I asked Mike Tyson, I said, Mike, I said, you've won 30, 31 straight fights. You had won 30, 31 straight fights, almost all by knockout. I said, what's it like to get knocked out?
Oh my God.
And he said, listen, my friend, you don't judge, I'm just paraphrasing me. You don't judge a man by when he's on top, when things are going well. You judge a man how he comes back from adversity. And he goes, I will be back, blah, blah, blah. And, but here's Mike Tyson spewing philosophy after getting beat by Buster Douglas. But you're exactly right. This team got knocked down, got up, got knocked almost out. Right. Got up at the 8 count. They were the number 7, whatever, 8 seed. Yeah, 6. Yeah. 8th seed in the college football playoff. And just like in 2002, they were a 13-point underdog, because nobody thought, like I said, the difference in this game, I remember saying that was going to be the Ohio State defense. Everybody was talking about Miami, et cetera, and Ohio State defense held sway. I mean, it's just, you don't know about a team. This is like right now, when we sit in those press conferences and Ryan's getting asked this, that, and the other, and I just kind of marvel that he answers questions because we've been doing this for years, right? But the point is this is not a finished product. Right. They're not even close to how good they can be.
Yeah, in 2000, I wasn't covering the team in 2002, but obviously I watched them, and they had so many close calls.
Yeah.
And then in 14, they were written off after Braxton got hurt, after they lost to Virginia Tech.
14 playoff.
And they had to get in. They were on the outside looking in until they beat Michigan Wisconsin 59-0. They beat Wisconsin 34-0, like they did this week. They wouldn't have gotten in.
No.
With Cardale Jones, right? I mean, they wouldn't have gotten in. That game, I still think remains. And the Oregon game, the Rose Bowl was close in terms of just watching, like, oh my
what am I watching?
Right. But the Wisconsin game, because they didn't really, until they did it,
yes,
I really thought they were going to get in the playoffs.
No.
And I remember seeing Urban Meyer in the concourse after the 59-0, and he's asked me, he said, do you think we're in? And I said, I don't see how they keep you out.
Yeah, that's what I told him too. He asked me the same thing.
I don't know how they keep.
And by the way, he wasn't sitting there forlorn eating pizza. That was in the 2012, 2013.
Right. He just happened to walk by.
Yeah, I know. You know what I'm talking about. The Michigan State loss.
And so last year, they weren't written off after Oregon. Everyone knew it was a 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
And they weren't written off entirely because after Michigan, because they were still going to get in.
But because of how the other dominoes had fallen in the season across the country by then. Correct.
Ohio State has been very fortunate that in 2014 they expanded the playoff or created the playoff to be a 14 playoff instead of the 2-team BCS.
Yes.
They wouldn't have won that one. And then last year, if it had been a 14 playoff, they wouldn't have gotten in that one.
Everybody talks about Ohio State being unlucky in some things. I go, 2007, they don't play for the national championship 2007 if calamity hadn't hit on that extra week of the season. West Virginia getting beat. Yeah. So don't tell me about Ohio State having bad luck all the time, as my buddy Jeff Snook, he's always talking about the national championships they could have won. I go, dude, that's over.
Right.
I mean, get over yourself, But anyway, I hope he's listening because he hates it when I do that. I go, they can't replay it. They're not going to replay it. They're not going to revisit it. The only people who revisit it are guys like you.
I asked Ryan. We're talking about the Clemson game, the 2018 Clemson game.
Yeah.
The one that
31-0. No, that was 16.
That was Clemson.
Yeah.
Oh, that was 16. The one
you're talking about 2019.
The Jordan Fuller, the penalty, the turnover.
Yes.
Touchdown was overturned. The Sean Way targeting.
Oh yeah. 2019.
Gotten over. They said, I finally gotten over that, but just barely.
Oh yeah. Dude, when somebody takes something out of your back pocket and acts like it's theirs, that makes you really mad.
They would have played the Joe Burrow LSU team.
That would have been unbelievable.
I mean, the greatest thing, right? It was the greatest thing. But I think Ohio State took so much out of Clemson in that game that Clemson, I think LSU would have beaten. I mean, I would have still loved to have seen that Ohio State team. I still think that's the best, from start to finish, Ohio State team I've ever covered.
Yeah, it was pretty damn good.
Dominant from the start until the end.
Yes.
2014 was great at the end. Last year's obviously dominant in the playoff.
Yes. I think I might agree with you on that.
Yeah. The 19 team with Justin Fields and just Chase Young and
Garrett Wilson and right on down
about
line.
like in 22, 22, 23.
Chris
If
Olave.
they had Jackson Smith and Jigba been healthy that year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Boy.
Hey, think about that Rose Bowl if the other two guys had played.
Oh my God!
And Utah, it's like Utah had no idea what pass defense was. It was crazy. But anyway, yeah. All right, we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back for another Tim May show featuring Clay Hall because there's about 400 or 500 more hours we could talk about. I told you I'd keep you here an hour. I was close. It was an hour and 24 minutes.
Oh, is it really? Well,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it.
You've got to go. I've got to go.
Awesome.
All guys, children got to go real quick. It's an off week in terms of Ohio State playing a game. I'm going to see with my baby brother, Tony, who's going to be 68. I always like to add that in there. My baby brother, he's going to be 68. We're going to the Alabama and South Carolina game. We've been planning this for like 6 months. And I'm going by to swing by and see my daughter who's with her, what do you call it? They're not married yet. They're not married, but not fiance, but
Boyfriend?
they're, boyfriend, but what do you call it? Been a boyfriend for 2 years. Yeah. Longtime boyfriend. Yeah, but there's another word for that. I think, anyway, he's a captain in the Marine Corps down at Camp Lejeune. And I kept telling her, don't drink the water. Well, maybe drink the water. We'll get a little money out of it. But anyway, I'm going by, swing by, get to see her and going to that down in Columbia. Clay, what are you doing this weekend?
There's a few things. I'll be plugged into Texas, Mississippi State, but
yeah,
I'll be getting ready for Monday's podcast. So
there you go. He prepares to hopefully get a word in edgewise.
I'm prepared to be A.J. Hawk.
You get paid by the word?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
You're like, which one is it? Penn and Teller? Which one's the one
Yeah.
that talks?
I always forget.
I do too.
Yeah, but what an act. That's a great act. And you, Bill, what are you going to do? Are you going to watch football or are you going to play with your grandson? Combination? You're going to go to the corner and sell your books? What are you going to do, Bill? If you can find any copies to sell.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I've got plenty of copies. The publisher sends me.
Yeah, but when Amazon says they're sold out, whatever the rasher, that's a good sign.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope.
You remember we were going to that breakfast place over in West Lafayette one time,
Okay.
and these two portly people were coming out of the door, and I said that Ray was driving. I said, "That's a good sign right there. It's a good place to eat."
Saturday, my wife and I are going to see a comedian, and
There you
then
go.
Sunday she's having a book launch party for me.
Oh, good.
At the house, so people are going to stop by.
Awesome.
Family
Is
friends.
SpaceX a sponsor?
SpaceX is not a sponsor.
Who's the comedian going to see? Do you even know his name or her name? Oh,
I'll just
okay.
say that.
Leave it at that. We'll leave it mystery.
So yeah, I hope people who buy the book will also help me keep doing what I'm doing by subscribing and paying to subscribe to my Substack. I did get a severance, so I am getting some money from the Dispatch still,
yeah.
but that will run out, and so that's my source of income now. Is
I hope
Substack,
you're investing. Like, I know your dad. I mean, your dad gave you financial.
my dad was a stockbroker.
Exactly.
Retired.
So he knows what to do with that
Yeah.
nest egg.
Yes,
But-
but yeah, the way I will make my money to live on is
Yeah.
Substack. So I appreciate subscribers, but I really appreciate paid subscribers.
Yeah, paid subscribers. How do you? Once again, you just get on Substack.com. Where do you find Substack?
There is a Substack.com. I would imagine I haven't done this, but I would imagine if you type my name in and Substack, it will come up.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. And I'm covering the team the way I always have. I'm going to the games,
Right.
Paying my own way to go to the games this time. So again, if you like what I do and want me to continue doing what I do, please become a paid subscriber.
Yeah, you're still a young man. See, I'm 71. I mean, I'm
not a young man, but I'm
yeah,
10 years
yeah,
older.
exactly. You're a younger man, and you're even younger than Clay Hall, ladies and gentlemen, who looks only 28, but that's TV for you.
Keep going because I know we can get to that part.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? We're not going to. For Clay Hall, for Bill Rabinowitz, I'm Tim May. This has been the Tim May Show once again on FanStreamSports.com. We'll see you next time.
Great show.
Thank you, Bill.